Welcome to Chasing Impact, Not Sales, where heart meets hustle, strategy meets service, and selling feels good again. I'm your host, Mandy Minatello. Let's go. Hey, welcome back to Chasing Impact, Not Sales. I am Mandy, and I don't normally even record on this particular day of the week, but I was so inspired by a post that I saw that I thought, you know what, I need to share that. So if you know me at all, you know that a kind of a big thing in my life is that I am a football mom. I was first a football wife and now a football mom. My son plays high school football and absolutely loves it. And I think it was a week ago, I saw a post from one of his football coaches that really struck me. He, of course, was referring to athletes and athletics, specifically to his athletes, which are at this like pivotal point in their life where they actually are skilled. They're no longer just sort of chasing the ball around, of which in my head right now I'm envisioning my daughter when she was 5 playing soccer. There's zero strategy. They just literally run around after the ball and and then have snack. But the athletes that Coach Washington is referring to are skilled in their craft. They put in the reps, they do the work, and they thrive on that action, right? But they're still teenagers with a whole lot of life ahead of them and a whole lot of lessons that they need to learn. And so he posted this, and it's actually a quote from someone named Greg Burge, who I don't know. And it's titled Competitive Arrogance. And Coach made this connection in his caption that at first this looks like a negative thing. And it's in bright red letters, bold. And so, of course, it grabs your attention, and you do think something called competitive arrogance is going to be negative. When you're referring to athletes or anything else, in my mind, as I read this, I thought, oh my goodness, I had an aha brain blow moment because as I read this definition of competitive arrogance, I realized this is what sales teams are looking for. This is what I coach. This is when I say your mindset, this is what I'm talking about. And so I'm just going to read it to you. Forgive me. I'm going to read it to you and then sort of talk about this, right? So competitive arrogance is a trait the great ones carry. It is not cockiness. It's not empty words. It's confidence built through years of sweat, sacrifice, and preparation. The best know they've put in the work, so when the moment comes, they trust themselves fully. Competitive arrogance says, I've earned this. I can handle this. I will not be denied. It's the belief that no obstacle is too big and no challenge is too great, as long as it doesn't tip into entitlement. This mindset is essential. The great ones need it. The average ones usually don't have it. So what initially, at first glance, you see these bright red words, competitive arrogance, you're thinking, ugh. And then by definition, it's like, yeah, you know what it is it's not what we usually equate the word arrogance with, which would be cockiness, would be entitlement, would be the person who just believes that something is owed to them for the sake of it being owed to them. That is not what is being referred to here. Competitive arrogance, I would define as earned confidence. I've always used the word swagger. When I train up sales teams, I say, you need this sales swagger. And I try to put my finger on and define it in a zillion different ways, but this is what I'm talking about. The earned confidence from doing the reps, from being properly and sometimes overly prepared. And I'm going to add my own twist on here, for being wholly, meaning WHOLLY, whole being, 360 degrees of who you are, aligned with what you are presenting. And making sure that you match the value that you bring to the table with the proposition that you're laying out. And when you've done that, when you've done the reps, you've earned the competitive arrogance that you can carry when you walk into a room. I've heard people say, mentors of mine have said it, and I don't know if it is truly their quote or if it's just one of those quotes passed down through time. But people say, that you need to train for your business the way that an athlete trains for his sport. And if you think about the great athletes, and of course I'm drawing this alignment because I originally see this quote posted by a coach, the great athletes don't cut corners. The great athletes don't shy away from reps. They want them. They welcome them. They also welcome coaching and feedback. They welcome time to skillfully craft their sport and to build their skill. So if you're training for your business, if you're training for your sales career like an athlete does, then you're not looking for shortcuts. You're not looking for necessarily the fastest way from A to B. You've got long game vision. Of course, we all want to make short-term gains. There's quotas that need to be made and all of those things, but how do you ensure the longevity, the expansion, the sustainability of a business, an industry, a career? How you do that is by having competitive arrogance, the earned confidence because you have strategic approach to your craft. You have long-term vision, long game vision. You're creating more than those short-term gains and the short-term results. True athletes that are the ones that go down in halls of fame, when you really look into their routine, I'm trying to think, I cannot even think of even one in any field of sports that I know of that's notable, right? That stayed in just the small lane of what their notable sport is, right? I said I'm a football mom, football wife, so I know a bit more about football than others, so I'm just going to stick to football, right? Name me, please message me if you can think of one, a great football player that solely stuck to the football field and running the reps on the field. This would be a challenge because all of the names I can think of were weightlifting to get strong. Some were doing sports like, for balance and agility. So they're doing either like MMA kind of stuff for that agility. They're doing ballet for the strength and the core support. Some of them do like swimming so that they can continue to build strength, especially through an injury, so that they have that, the less jolt on their joints. They're focusing on being the best of the best at their craft by doing the extra things that happen behind the scenes because they have the long-term, long game vision. When you are great, it doesn't start and end when practice for your craft starts and ends. When you are great in business, you do not have the, I turn it on at 9, I turn it off at noon, I go eat lunch, I turn it on and then I turn it off. Like, you're thinking about how you could be better and how you could be better, how I can be better. Sometimes is doing the reps that are outside of the realm of what you do. I go to the gym very regularly, almost every day. Why? Because my body is part of my craft. I have to feel strength. I have to feel healthy. I have to feel like I am proud to walk in a room. And that happens in your mind with reading and growing and learning. It happens in your body with taking care of what you have been entrusted with so that you can continue your craft as long as possible. It happens with keeping yourself at the prime through your life, right? And we're all going to go through differences and growing curves and all of that stuff. But the bottom line is we keep growing. We keep learning. We keep doing the reps. We keep putting in the work. You're never going to get to the point where you're like, I've made it. I can sit on my laurels. I am entitled. It's coming to me. That is where in the quote it says it tips into entitlement. But if you continue to have a growth mindset, you continue to have a strategy with long game results in mind, then you continue to earn that confidence. You continue to earn that seat at the table. You continue to earn the swagger. And there is nothing wrong with that. The greats have it. The average don't. So my challenge to you is to think about it. What are you doing to create competitive arrogance in yourself and in those you work with? If you are a manager or a leader, does your team have the right to say, yes, we carry competitive arrogance? Do you have the right to model competitive arrogance? I can honestly say that the coach that posted this does. And the fact that he expects this from my son makes my heart glow. The fact that we have models in our lives of people who say, go, you're needed. You earned this. You make this space, this boardroom, this football field, this conference better because you have so much value to bring. The fact that we have those people in our lives that say, you were made for this. That's what it's about. Because going back to football quotes, strategy will win over tactic every time. Games are won not just by the quarterback throwing the ball into the end zone one at a time. No. Games are won by the defense as much as they are by the offense. My son being on the defense side, he would tell you they're won by the defense. But it's definitely strategy. You study who you are playing, your opponent, so that you can meet them with strategy. You don't just show up and throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that it wins. Doesn't work in sports, doesn't work in business, and it's not going to work for you if you want to have the competitive advantage, the competitive arrogance in the room. So win the game. Feel confident that you're going to win the game in the last quarter as much as you are in the first quarter. You're going to win it with your defense as much as you are by your offense, and you're going to win it by the individual as much as you are by the team. If everyone is putting in the work, everyone is taking pride in that work, everyone is matching the value that they bring, with the expectation of victory, you've earned it. You can have competitive arrogance. Own it. Let's go. Thanks for listening to Chasing Impact, Not Sales. If this episode sparked something, share it, subscribe, and remember, real sales come from real service. Keep chasing impact.